Okay guys, today I'm going to be building a water cooling loop for my computer. The things I'll be using are a reservoir, a pump, a CPU block, some clear PrimaFlex Pro LRT antimicrobial tubing, 3/8, 5/8, and a reservoir, not a reservoir, a radiator from Coolants, and of course a computer. Some tools you may need are some scissors so you can cut your tubing, a wrench for tightening on your fittings, and a screwdriver. Also, any other tools that you find useful are good to have. I'll be using a flashlight so I can show you guys things inside the computer and you can see what I'm doing better. And also very important, you need to have some paper towels because it's water cooling and it's computer parts, so gotta make sure you have some of these. Some isopropyl alcohol. Really, you should get 91% or the highest percentage possible. This is 70%, so it's not great, but it'll get the job done. And some distilled water. Make sure it's distilled. Some quick things to go over while you're doing this are you're going to want to make sure you have the right size tubing. So 3/8 inner diameter, 5/8 outer diameter, and you're going to make sure all your components are compatible with those fittings and your tubing. So all my tubing and stuff is compatible, except for this pump here. These are I think they're half-inch inner diameter, but we're gonna have to do some stuff to get the tubing to fit on there, but it's gonna be okay, so don't worry about it. I've already taken the liberty of putting the radiator in because for my computer it's actually really complicated. I had to mount these brackets on there, and then so yeah, I had to mount these brackets in here and up here on both sides, and it was a little complicated, so I do that first and then do everything else as I go. So one thing that you're going to want to do first is make sure you unplug your motherboard, because you don't want your computer starting up when you turn on your pump and then there's no water getting to the water block and then you end up having a burnt up CPU. You don't want to do that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt my computer over and I'm going to start working on putting in this water block here, because I need to fit the tubing to my particular chassis and make sure I cut it to the right lengths. The first thing we're going to do here is turn this over. Alright, so here we've got see the radiator here. You can see all that stuff now. There's lots of light. You can see. So we're going to want to take this out. This is going, not using this. So unplug this right here. Okay, and then you're going to take this off, decouple this thing here. You can see that. Whatever CPU you have, just look at the manual. If you put it on there, you're able to take it off. You'll figure it out. Okay, look at that old, nasty, gunky stock fan cooler. Goodbye. No longer need to use you. Congratulations, Patrick. So one of the first things we're going to want to do is clean the crap off of this CPU here. As you can see, it's covered in gunk from the old thermal paste that used to be on there. And we're going to be replacing it with this PK1 It's that Prolima Tech thermal compound. Yeah, this stuff came with the Swiftech water block, so I'm going to be using this stuff for that CPU. Alright, I like to be super careful when I do these types of things. So, I'm going to be using some Q-tips to clean the gunk off of my CPU. So I'm just going to place this here. Actually, let's see, where can I put this that it'll be nice and I have to hold it. Let's see if I can put it right. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. So there you go. Now you can see what I'm doing. And I can clean my CPU. So let's get out. I'm just taking a little bit of isopropyl rubbing alcohol and I'm going to put it on the Q-tip. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take it like so. There's the Q-tip with the isopropyl. And I'm just going to rub it around on this gunky gunk until it comes up. It may take a while, but you know, you get it eventually. I'm probably also going to use a few pieces of paper, some paper towels. Look at that, you can see the words now and everything. Look at that. There's some stuff coming up there. You can see how thick that gunk was on there. Man, it's hard to believe. That's probably why my CPU was so hot. So I kept on taking the CPU off, not the CPU, the cooling block off, so that I could do guides and stuff like that. And then I never replaced the thermal paste, which is bad. You should always replace your thermal paste when you're taking your block off of your CPU. So let's get some more of this isopropyl, and I'm going to put it on this paper towel here, and I'm just going to keep on wiping it up. Oh, you can't see that. Okay, it's over here. Just going to keep on. Oop, got a little piece of paper towel there. Okay. Look at that. Nice. Oh, damn it. It's always good to let your computer dry for a couple days after you do this, so before you turn it on again. But, yeah. Just gotta get all this nasty gunk off. Okay. Okay, so now it looks clean, but even after it's done, there's still a layer of thermal paste on there that you can't actually see. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take another Q-tip and just one more time go around and make sure I got all the gunk. Make sure I get all the gunk off of the CPU. So I'm just going to go all over. Make sure I get everything off. See, look at that. There's still, even though it looks like I got it all, there's still gunk on there. So you got to make sure you go over a few times, make sure you get all the gunk off. Look at that. Now it's super clean like the day I bought it. Ooh. I got a little alcohol runoff on the side. That's why you have to give your components time to dry after you finish doing this stuff, because it can get a little messy sometimes. This is my first time doing one of these, so we'll see how I do. Just make sure you get all the corners, edges. There we go. Okay. Just gonna take a little paper towel here and dry up anywhere that might have got some alcohol on the sides or anything like that, and just make sure I clean that up, so I don't want any catastrophic events happening. And I know catastrophic is not a word. Just relax. Okay. You know, I want to take that out and make sure it's actually dry. Let's have a look at it and make sure it's okay. Yep. Looks good. Okay, that's just glue from the. Okay, we're good. So now that that's done, moving on. Oop. Very important. Never push on your CPU, ever. If it's not going in, don't force it, because the pins are very fragile, because they will break. Okay, so after that's done, the next step is to mount your water block to your CPU, like so. Now, you're going to want to refer to your directions for this, so you make sure you get everything secured in properly. So, depending upon what kind of water block you're using, you have to refer to your manual, check your motherboard, make sure the water block's compatible with your motherboard, make sure everything's compatible. Always, the most important thing always is compatibility and safety and patience. Okay, so there's a few important things. So I'm going to go and proceed to remove the stock mounting bracket, so I won't need it. Alright. We are looking good at this point. Oh. So when I did that, the back plate fell out. But it's cool, no worries. Hakuna Matata. Okay. Let's get some dynamicness. You guys have just been sitting here watching a old CPU. So here's the CPU. Everything's been removed. Those are the stock brackets for mounting. And now these are the instructions. What we're looking for here particularly is the order in which you mount the springs. Look for a manual like this. Depending upon which one you're using, it'll be different, obviously. But I actually had to order the mounting bracket separately for this particular water block, because it doesn't come automatically with the AMD. I had to have it shipped over, but it was free, except for shipping, which I guess technically makes it not free, but whatever, it's fine. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and assemble the particular pieces I need. So they're represented by this. These are the actual pieces, and they're going to go into this water block here. Sorry guys, forgot one thing real quick. Got to go over how to spread the CPU paste on the CPU. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick before I put my block on there. So just give me a moment and I will show you how to do that. Okay. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to be using the spread method, where I'm going to spread it all over. Hopefully I don't screw this up horribly. Let me just wipe off my CPU just a little more, just to be sure. I like to be extra safe than sorry. Yeah, it's fine. I'm just being paranoid. Okay. There's really nothing else on there. So, I'm going to go ahead and apply my thermal paste. don't put a lot, just a small amount. You don't need a lot. Now, I'm going to get your standard issue. Let's see, what cards do I not need? Another useful thing to have when you're doing a water cooling loop is a nice flat card, like a credit card or a Metro card or something. But I'm going to be using your standard issue Metro card here. Let's see, and I want to use one that's not expired yet. Okay, let's go ahead and use this one. So, take your Metro card, and you just want to spread around your thermal paste. It's really hard for me to show you guys this and do it, but let's see, be real careful here. I'm just going to spread this around so it's nice and even. It's really hard to get in there. There we go. Now the purpose of thermal paste is to make sure that your CPU has a nice good contact with the thing that's cooling it, and without it you don't have as good of a thermal environment for your components to really stay cool as well. I guess the heat transferring from the CPU will not transfer as well because of the lack of the paste. So you want to make sure you got some of that on there. Okay. Oh, I think that's pretty good for my first thermal paste application. Yeah, that's pretty good. Left some off on the edge there. Let's see if I can get that. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Yes, that's nice. Okay, that's good enough. Alright, so here's a look at what that looks like. Very nice. Nice and even. They're pretty even. My first time, so it's pretty good. I'm just going to leave this over somewhere over here, I guess. And now comes the difficult part of actually attaching the water block. So the water block needs to be assembled with these particular pieces in this particular fashion. So now I'm going to cut and go and do that, and I'll get back to you when it's done. Alright. Okay guys, I'm back. I finished that task, and I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty damn hard. Now I'm gonna explain why in a second. I just want you to see that. Look at that, that's nice, right? I was getting mad actually. I was frustrated because you actually need to put the screw in the hole, but then there's another thing blocking it down here, so you can't actually see where the screw is going in. And on top of that, you have to screw all four of them in, and you have to do it on opposite sides. Like you have to go opposite corners in a pattern so that you don't over push it down on one side. And it kept sliding around because of the CPU paste. And it was really annoying, but I got it, and we're ready to move on. So, if you haven't already, I actually already put the fittings on my CPU block, but if you haven't already, you're going to want to go ahead and put the fittings on your radiator and your reservoir. And if your pump actually needs fittings, you're going to want to put those on there too. Mine doesn't use fittings, so I'm actually using bar fittings. I'm going to be throwing these on over the tubing and then tightening them on, and it's going to be good. So now next step, like I just said, is your fittings. So I need to cut and get back to you guys. I'm going to be putting these wonderful Cooline fittings. Oh, another important thing to note is make sure your metals are compatible. I'm not sure which metals it is, but I know that aluminum and nickel are really hard to find compatible metals for. So just because most water cooling loops use brass and copper, and you just want to make sure that you don't mix the wrong metals together. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put these on where they need to belong, and then I'll get back to you guys. All right. Okay, so we're in pretty good shape. We've got the fittings already secured on our tubing, on our water block, our reservoir. Not reservoir. I keep calling it reservoir. I know it's a radiator, but I keep calling it reservoir. So we've got the fittings. Can you see that on there? Yeah. Okay. Got the fittings on there. Looking good. And finally, we've got the fittings on our SwiftTech Res. So next step is, well, first, before you start screwing things on, making it all permanent and cutting stuff, you want to make sure you know how you want to have your components down here arranged. Now, I'm not quite sure how I want to do this because of the, if you look at the way, there needs to be space. Look at the way the pump is, there's nothing, I couldn't do that because first of all, it's, let me see that, it's too, let's see, so you can see the one, the outlet down there on the bottom is too low for that, so I'm probably going to have it sort of like either have it like a sideways thing like this, like sideways like that. Sorry guys, I'm trying to hold the camera and a flashlight in one hand while showing you guys stuff in the other. But I'm probably either going to have it like that, because that's probably the best way to do that, or I'm going to have this up here and then sacrificing the fact that I may not be able to use all of my hard drive base, but that's fine. So, because I really don't have anything else that I need to put here anyway, so I may just stick it on right there, have my little Velcro, whatever, and then when I want to remove it, I just, you know, unvelcro, pull it out, fill, and then put it back. But depending upon how I do that, it's going to determine a lot of things. So, I'm going to see how I want to do this here, figure out how I want to do this. This wire, for cable routing purposes, I think I want to have it facing this way, and then I can just have that going back there, and then when I need to get to it, I just pull it out like that, because this happens to actually have a variable pump speed, so you can actually change how fast you want it flowing. But as long as the reservoir is above the pump, and the pump is the lowest thing in your setup, then you're fine. So let me just figure out how I'm going to do this. Okay, so what I decided is I'm just going to have them side by side, and I'm just going to show you how to measure out your tubing, and then I'm going to cut and then put my tubing in, and then I'll come back and show you what I did. Alright, so real quick, what you want to do is you want to just measure out how much tubing it is. Say you want to go from here to here, you measure out about how much you think it's going to be, and then you like line it up like that, and then you cut where you lined it up to. So say I wanted to go from here to here, from here to up there, I would hold that right there, and then measure out about that much tubing to lead to where I want it to go. So the most important thing is you want to make sure, this is the most important thing, you want to make sure that your reservoir is always before your pump, because you need to make sure that your pump is always getting water, because you cannot let it run dry or you'll break it. I don't know why, but I know that this is how it works. If you let it run dry, you'll break it. So you want your outlet down here to go to your inlet on your pump, which figure out which one it is for your specific pump, to come from your outlet here to your inlet on your CPU block, your water block, and then out of your outlet into your radiator. It doesn't matter which thing, I don't think. Either one is fine. And then out the other one back into the inlet on the reservoir. Okay? So I'm going to measure all that stuff out, cut it, and then I'll come back. Alright? Alright, so here it is. The completed loop. Got your tubing, reservoir, over here, going to your pump, going into the CPU, out the CPU, into the radiator, back into the reservoir. Very simple. Now, the thing you need to do to fill this is before you even turn it on, you gotta fill your reservoir because you cannot let the pump run dry. Now, in order to not have the board on, since your loop is not yet full, it's not going to be cooling your CPU, you don't want it turning on. So what you have to do is you have to jump your, I don't know if you can see that, you need to jump your, here we go, take it into the light. Your ATX, your main 24-pin ATX cable, you need to connect one of the green pins, so you have that green one there, connected to one of the black ones via this small staple that I found. You can use a paper clip, whatever else you want to use. So, got that. The other thing I want to do before I even put water in this thing is get some paper towels, because you don't want anything breaking or getting wet. So, take your paper towel, you slide it in here like so. Okay, make sure everything's covered. That way, if you see any drips, you'll be able to see them real quick, and then take care of them. Okay, next, you gotta actually put liquid in. So, take your whatever you're using. You can use distilled water or whatever, and then you put it in the reservoir. So I'm going to stop and do that now. And I'm going to show you a few things that you need to do before you actually leave your system just running. Alright, so I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so what I've done here is I've put some liquid in my reservoir. It looks a lot redder on camera, by the way, so it looks really good. And back here I have the power switch. I'm just flipping that on and off, and as I am doing that, water's going into the pump, and it's important not to let my reservoir run out because I don't want this to run dry. So I'm just going to turn it on again. You can see how it's reservoir's going down. You want to stop it. Actually, I think in order to do this for you, I'm going to have to cut off again. But just so you can see what's going on, is as it lowers down, you put more water in it, and then eventually the whole loop gets full. So you can see what's going on here. It's coming out one side, out the other. And then as you do that, the water goes down. So I'm going to put some more water in, and you guys can see what's going on. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, just let me get to that, and then I will get back to you guys, alright? Okay, so here you see it again. It's staying on now, but the important thing is, you see all these bubbles here? You can't let those stay in there. You gotta try and get those bubbles out. You know, something you can do is, to get some of the bubbles out, is you can push the case a little bit to the side, give it a little slight push, and rock it back and forth. And then, since I have this variable speed pump here, I can actually turn the pump speed up and down, which will let me get out some of those bubbles as well. So, I'll turn that up a little bit. Here you can see how it's going a little faster now. So those bubbles are escaping. All those are little white lines you see, those little bubbles there. Anyway, so you want to generally leak test for a while. Make sure everything is good and ready before you actually close it up. But yeah, as you can see, there's a few more bubbles. It takes a while to get all the bubbles out the system, but once you do, Your computer should be running cool and quiet, and it'll be good. Alright, so that's my water cooling guide, and I hope you enjoyed.